Hey, this is Dave Manore again with Nate Conner. We're going to sort of pick up where we left off. Nate was in Zambia for 3 months with Paola and Hector Garcia. He was tutoring little Asher when he was there, and it was a good 3-month experience.
It was
wasn't it?
definitely, a good experience for me.
One thing we didn't touch on was the church environment. Tell us a little bit about the church that you attended and how that went.
Yeah, so I was part of a church plant called Kitway Church, so it was pretty new, only within 2.5 years, I think. And Hector and Paula actually helped start that church. It's in the middle of the city. I think one thing that really surprised me going there was how diverse it was. When I think of Africa, I normally don't think of a lot of other countries, but I was interacting with people from Peru, people from England, Hungary, Mexico, America, just all kinds of different people. So that, I think, was interesting. It gave me a little glimpse of what heaven's going to be like one day when it's all tribes, tongues, and nations worshiping together. When I think of their leadership, it reminds me of our church here. Very similar, the way that they have it set up with a few pastors, elders, and then deacons as well. But then the membership is who votes on and makes the final decisions.
Yeah. Whenever I meet together with believers in another culture, another language, I just find it extremely exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, we're all part of the family of God. We're going to be together with the Lord one day. And I can remember meeting with people that were saved out of the ministry or out of a spiritual environment where they were witch doctors and shamans, and they were here giving glory to God. And that's exciting. Now, where you were at, the church this is not a grass hut. This is a masonry building.
It's
like
a
we would
nice
have here
building.
in the States.
It's clean. It's actually, they did a really good job when they updated it. So actually the landlord, because in the area that they're in, there's not a lot of purchasing. Everything is rented. And so the landlord actually decreased their rent because of how well they took care of the building. It's very beautiful there.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, another thing in the African church, and I know it's in the Zambian church as well, is the prosperity gospel. So I know that's there, but the church that you were in and what you have seen there, were they healthy churches?
Yeah, so the church plant that I was part of, and I was only able to interact with a few other pastors. I didn't really get to visit a ton of different churches just because of the virus that was going on. But Kitway Church, is a healthy church, very new, so they're definitely going through some new church struggles, but they're going about it in a healthy manner. So they focus solely on the Word. That's where their teaching comes from, and so that's refreshing. And that's actually what's drawn a lot of their membership there, is because the prosperity gospel is so big, it's hard to find a church that preaches the gospel in its entirety and doesn't preach this fluffy, stuff that the rest of the African churches are normally preaching.
So this is the church plant, but we're not talking at all new believers. And some of these were people who transferred in,
correct,
because of the sound teaching that it had.
Yes. So there was some believers that had been looking for a solid church that were able to come. There's a lot of new believers. And then there's also those who were initially part of the church plant. So there's a few missionary families there. And actually a lot of new missionaries who come, who their main job isn't church planting, have actually became members of Kitway Church because they've been looking for a solid church for their families.
So that gives a good core group then to
their elder
leadership.
board, their pastors, and their deacons is a really great group of guys. And then they have also a really great group of ladies who are running the administration and the women's ministry as well.
Right. And Hector's been involved in that church from the ground up, but he's actually looking at possibly moving on in the not too distant future to do another church plant, right?
Right. Yeah. So they have been talking, I think within the next few years, that they would like to start planning another church. He showed me the area that he'd like to do it in, which is a little bit farther out. But yeah, they're pretty excited.
Good. Now, you were also able to get over to the Bible college. It's Central Africa Baptist College and Seminary, right?
Yes.
I always want to throw Bible
I
in there
always throw it
somewhere.
off.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because they're CABU, which is Central Africa Bible University or Baptist University, but they are right next door to CBU, which is Copper Belt University.
Okay.
So I would always get them
Yeah, yeah.
confused.
Well, Copper Belt University is a pretty big
They are a
campus.
big
whereas,
school,
yeah.
yes.
But and so I think you audited a few classes over there, did you, during the
Yeah,
time?
I was able to sit in for a few of Hector's classes. So basically, Doctrines 1, which is a theology class, and then also a freshman class, which is how to study the Bible, which is just your basics, how to study the Bible in the right context and verse by verse, and what commentaries are for, and things like that.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, I was there, and I enjoyed it too. I think there's a great future for that.
Yeah,
that college.
their ministry is a really great one.
And the Shermans and the Hectors are there, or Garcias are there. And then they both go out into the country sometimes to reach out to help some of the rural pastors as well. So
Yeah, so both Kevin and Hector, they are constantly working with not only the college, but with other missionaries and other pastors in the area and going out into the bush to do some pastoral training as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, also when you were there, I know on one occasion you were hoping to go into the Congo. That didn't work out
was.
so good. Why?
It
why did that
didn't.
not?
So the initial plan was Hector was going to do a conference where he was going to be helping do some pastoral training in the Congo with some of their other missionary friends. And so I was supposed to go with him. We just needed to get my visa approved. It's just very difficult for Americans to get their visa into the Congo. And so when they saw that it was an American passport, they immediately rejected it and sent mine back. So Hector actually had to reapply. But then by the time he reapplied is when the virus really started to hit. And so they had canceled the trip.
Yeah, and with the Congo too, it's one of the most corrupt African nations in that you literally have to pay everyone. Everyone gets a bribe. When I was there, I wanted to go up into Congo to visit the Curtises, and when I considered the visa applications and the bribes and all that would go into it, I just decided, no, I don't think I'll go to the Congo.
Yeah.
We'll bring the Curtises out.
I was actually able to meet them. Yeah,
Did
while
you?
I was in
Okay.
Zambia, they were there, I think, for a graduation at the seminary.
Yeah, they've got two men that are
they
graduating
sponsor.
this year that are actually going to be elders in the church that they planted in the Congo. So, well, that's good. You're kind of
Yeah, I
meeting
was
all the
really
people.
able to. It was cool to interact with so many missionaries that we support here.
Good. Now, just on the practical side, you had to do some driving when you were over there? How did that go, Nate?
Well, I started off within the first month that I was there. The first few weeks, it was a little bit difficult trying to get used to driving on the other side of the road, but the steering wheel and everything is also on the opposite side of the car.
Right.
So that was a little bit helpful, but also a little bit confusing. But then by the end of it, I was basically a Zambian when it came to driving. I knew where all the potholes were, and I was overtaking people. It was pretty normal by the end.
I think the most difficult is when you go into a traffic circle. Which way do you go and how do you get out of this thing? That's
You go
the
left,
really-
and you can turn left on red. That's a little bit
that's another
confusing
strange
as well.
one. You don't turn right on red, you turn left on red. Exactly. Also, you had some difficulty with the flights. I mean, we were a little concerned about getting you back here because we knew that all the flights had been canceled. We knew that all the airports but one was closed in country. How did it work out that you finally got flights and were able to get out of there pretty much on time?
The airport that I was supposed to fly out of, which was the airport that I flew into, is only an hour away from where the Garcias live. But they closed them all except for the capital city in Lusaka. And so some of our friends had to drive us about 5 or 6 hours to the capital, where I was supposed to fly from Zambia to Ethiopia to Canada and then back home. So that was all set. We had to change it around a few times because the airports. When I got to the airport in Zambia, they told me that my flight to Canada was canceled and that I would have to spend 2 nights in Ethiopia. And I told them, I was like, you can't do this. So we got to figure out another way. And so we found a flight from Ethiopia to Washington, D.C. and there was actually another missionary family they were going home as well, and so I was able to fly with them.
Oh, good. Good.
To Washington, and then Washington somehow to Detroit. I think it was supposed to be Minneapolis to Detroit, and that all got changed too. I missed one flight, had to book another one. It was a pretty interesting,
Oh, good. Now
crazy
you're an
time, but I'm
international
home.
traveler. You got all that experience. We'll send you out again.
That's right, yeah.
Also, wherever I go, I have all these critter stories. There's always some critter. Some countries, a lot of critters, and it always it can be a little bit disruptive. Sometimes it's just plain out fun. And you had a couple of critter
I can tell you, I did not
encounters.
escape Zambia without some good critter stories, which mostly took place, in the Garcia's home. So that was a pretty interesting time. I think it was only my third week where we thought there was a mouse in the kitchen, so we were cleaning out the kitchen. We never found the mouse, so then I was getting ready to take a shower in the evening, and I was walking towards the bathroom, and I saw something run from the bathroom into the bedroom, the extra bedroom across the hall, and I just figured, it's the mouse. I didn't really see it that well. So me and Hector and their guard, who takes care of the property in the evening, his name's Given, we all went in there to look for it and found that it was not a mouse but a rat, and this thing was massive.
Big rat.
And I don't know if you guys have ever seen three grown men in a teeny tiny bedroom with gardening tools trying to get rid of a rat, but
You're lucky you didn't skewer each other.
yeah, it was quite a sight. And Paula sure had a show standing on the outside of the door listening to us, so we had shoved a towel underneath the door to make sure that it didn't get
the
out.
escape route. Yeah.
The thing was fast, and they climb on walls, they climb on beds, and it crawled over my feet at one point, and I was only in my socks, so I felt pretty freaked out after that, but we finally got it. Given is the lifesaver, so he took care of that one. But then it was only within my second month there, me and Asher were actually playing Nerf in the house, running around, and I was hiding in one of the bathrooms, and a rat had crawled up the toilet drain and was swimming in the bowl. And so there was another one. And I don't know how I'm the one who always finds them, but they seemed to be very attracted to me.
Second nature for them, they just let it go.
Right. So we found that one, and Given took care of that one as well.
Wow.
So
another, I understand you were, was it a post office or something, and some young lady not only proposed but became your spiritual wife? Tell us about that.
we were at the police station. So the police in Zambia also, everything is for money. They'll do anything to get money. So they actually arrested our guard for no reason. They made up some story to arrest him, so we had to go to the police station to get him out. We actually visited. I really got the Zambia experience because I visited 3 different police stations that were there. And so one of them, we had to do some paperwork. And while we were there was this woman, and she came over, and she introduced herself to me and Hector. But she came up to me, and she told me, I just really needed to introduce myself because I saw your beautiful skin. And so obviously, pretty uncomfortable situation. And Hector's trying to deal with paperwork, and I'm trying to, get away from this lady. And she keeps talking to me and asking me questions, and asked if I had a girlfriend, and Hector is trying to get her away, and so he says, oh, no, he's already taken. And so then she's asking if I had any friends in America. And I said, well, no, you'd have to come to America to meet them. And she said, well, it's too late anyway because you're my spiritual husband. So she basically said that our spirits were married to each other. And in the culture there, that's a common belief is that a spirit can marry you, or your spirit can be married to somebody else, and you don't always know who it is. Yeah. They use it to explain things such as, failed relationships or infertility could be because, you have a spiritual wife or husband.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I told Hector that we needed to find a witch doctor or something so I could get a spiritual divorce. Yeah. So we got it taken care of, right?
It's a good example of worldview. When you go to another culture, you just don't know how many, and there are a lot of things that are just like that, where their worldview is so different, and it impacts how you relate to those people as well. And even when you're preaching the gospel, to understand that worldview is so important. Otherwise, you may be communicating something completely different than what you desire. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Nate, we're glad you came back single still. You're really not married. We're happy for that. The rat didn't get you. You are a real blessing to the Garcias and to Asher. And we just thank you. As a church, you thank you so very much for going and representing us well and being a blessing to our
Thank you
missionaries.
for sending me, and for giving me that experience and for praying for me while I was there.
Yeah.
It's really appreciated.
Oh, good. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Thanks again for sending them, Cornerstone.